You mentioned that Peter C. Harvey couldn't really have or shouldn't be really having the talks with the NFL. Does he kind of look at it through that lens, though? Because what you're saying is a high-level law lens of it. Does Peter C. Harvey likely realize that, and could that be why he's just kind of saying, let's see if how the settlement talks proceed here?
No, I'm going to take a contrarian view here and not assume that the parties are asking for him to withhold his decision so they can continue negotiating. I think his decision naturally is taking a much longer period of time because in order to justify departing from Sue Robinson's 6-game suspension based upon the lack of fair notice, Peter Harvey is going to have to look at all the prior arbitration precedent and all those situations in which players were suspended 8 games or 10 games for violent conduct, or in the case of nonviolent conduct, 3 games. He will need to basically distinguish all of those prior cases to make a showing as to why Deshaun Watson's situation is so unprecedented that any of the prior arbitration precedent has no bearing on the outcome, so that he can discipline with a free hand and not necessarily have to be limited by the 3-game maximum under previous nonviolent cases, or even the 10-game maximum for other cases involving violent conduct. So he almost has to summarize or explain and distinguish each of those other dozens of prior cases potentially, and why those cases are different and don't stand on all fours with Deshaun Watson's, alleged conduct. And in order to have his ruling not only, satisfy his own sense of justice, but he's looking ahead to federal court and wants to preserve or protect his ruling from federal court reversal. And the only way he can accomplish that is by overcoming Sue Robinson's fair notice point. And in order to accomplish that, he really needs to show that none of the prior arbitration cases should set any precedent or have any bearing on the maximum suspension that Peter Harvey can render. And as a consequence, he's going to have to distinguish those cases and show and explain why they're different. That takes a little bit more time than just simply saying, okay, 6 more games or 10 more games. That's a very painstaking analysis. And we're only at maybe 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks since the appellate briefs were filed. It might be taking him a little bit longer of a time because of the task that he has to undertake here to basically navigate around Sue Robinson's fair notice analysis. And that's going to take a case-by-case analysis to show why each of those cases are so different than Watson's case that they shouldn't serve as precedent or law of the shop to bind Peter Harvey in rendering the appropriate discipline.